Ruth, you want to just come sit up here right now? It'd be easier. Yeah. Do you want to do it over here? I'll move over here. I'll move that if you want. I use it because it makes me taller. You're usually over there anyway. So, all right. Good morning. Good morning. It's 11 o'clock. Thank you. And it's time to say welcome. Welcome to Woodland Chapel Center for Spiritual Living this beautiful, beautiful morning. And September is just about my favorite month here. When we lived on the East Coast for a while, spring was like breathtaking. And I moved here, and I was like, where's spring? So changed that to September being my favorite month, and you'll notice that there are books on the table, so it's back to school time. So welcome this morning. And is there anyone here for the first time today?
My first time today.
First time today. Thank you, Neil. So no one here for the first time today. All right, well, welcome all of you. So glad that you are here. And we have just a few announcements. And most of them are on the back of your bulletin. And we have a new bulletin today. So they're on the back of the bulletin. And next week, and this is so popular, is Soup for the Soul. And you know, they only charge $3 for that. And I'm like, I think they need to raise their prices because it's so awesome. Yeah, you can get all kinds of the soup. You don't have to just settle for one bowl and bread and all that. But we're raising money for a defibrillator. It's a very hard word to say, defibrillator. Thank you, Darcy. And I think that they are there on the amount. I'm not absolutely 100% sure, so thank you all of you who have participated in that. And they do have a next week. And if you would like to bring soup or bread for that, there's a sign-up sheet out on the table. And classes are starting, and I'm very excited about this. I haven't taught a class. It's been a couple of years since I've taught a class down here. And I'm super excited about this Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life class. I looked over the curriculum, and then I got very excited and added some things to it. It absolutely is a bit of a transformative class. And what I have found is over the years, I retake things, and I am at a different place. In my textbook, the Ernest Holmes book, I started using different colors for every year. I took it and things that popped out at me, and they were always so different because it is a journey. It's not like an overnight wake up. It's not like an overnight wake up. So there's the sign-up sheet out there, and I would love to have you participate in that class. It's going to be on Sunday afternoon. You can go get something to eat, or in case of next week, go get a bowl of soup. And come back. And we did it on a Sunday afternoon. Sometimes it's a weekday evening, but we thought we would try Sunday afternoon on that. So hope you come. And prayer requests. If there is not a prayer request form in front of you, there are some out in the library. Prayer is what we're about here at Woodland Chapel and all the Centers for Spiritual Living. We were really founded that way with practitioners, and it just evolved into churches and ministry. But prayer works, you guys. It really works. And we have 5 trained practitioners, and the ministers are also practitioners. We are first and foremost prayer practitioners. So feel free. They're confidential. If you want someone to call you, you can put that down, but you don't even have to put your name down, because guess what, guys? Spirit knows who you are. So, yeah, it's true. It is true. And just the process of writing that out, I think, it is done into us as we believe it. That quote, ask and you shall receive. So I think the minute we ask, there is an answer. And you know what? I think sometimes, maybe always, the answer is already there before we ask. So, but it helps us in our human form. So if you are called to serve this community, check with the ministry team if you want to be part of that. And that's where we develop our deepest, in classes and in service, where we develop our deepest relationships with one another. I went to an afternoon luncheon yesterday, and everyone at that luncheon was from my first church that I had many years ago. And everyone had made their best friends at that church and have continued on over the decades having the friends. So that's one of the things that I so value in the sense of organization and community. And okay, we have children, place for children downstairs. So if you have friends who have children and think, oh, it's hard to bring them, we have a wonderful place for children, which you're welcome to visit. So let us begin this morning now that all the business is taken care of, to go deeply into our spiritual process. Ruth, who is a practitioner here, and she is also available for prayers.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
There you go. Well, as we come together in our prayer, actually, it's more of a celebration. So let's take a deep breath together and release it, and know that we are one. God is absolutely absolute, and we are part of God. My hands do the work of God, my feet do the walking for God, and my heart is the love of God. And I know that the people today who speak to you will certainly be understood and make a difference in your heart, in your mind, and in every action that you take. And I also know that those here not only are here to hear someone give them advice, but also to love your neighbor. And I think this is one of the most important parts of our being, of our gathering. But I know that the release of these ideas, the gratitude that we have that we are able to get together, it all is filtered right into the law of God. And you know that the law of God is acting immediately, but maybe not in the way that we have seen it. And so I know that all is well. And if you'll say with me, and so it is. Now, if you'll look in our lovely new bulletin, or program, or however you want to call it, it says affirmation. And if you would join me in speaking the affirmation. I give thanks that I am open at the top for all expressions of human love. I know that the power of divine love will not be denied. All expressions of love are now accepted and included as guideposts of desire for love, flowing through all life, seeking union with God, being God on this earth. And so it is. Thank you.
And we have a new bulletin this morning, which I put together, and I'm telling you that because I made a mistake. I left out our congregational song, didn't I, Darcy? And so before we have a reading with... I'm going to own up to that right away. Let us, before we have our reading from Science of Mind, let us just be in joy. And what are we doing today?
We have in your bulletin on the front, on the first page there, on the top, is a song that is a prayer. It simply says, what the world needs now is love, right? In all places. needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing, please stand, that is just too little love. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another mountain. There are mountains and hillsides enough to climb. There are oceans and rivers enough to last, cross enough to last, till the end of time. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another meadow. There are cornfields and wheat fields enough to grow. There are sunbeams and moonbeams enough to shine. Oh, listen, Lord, if you want to know what the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Yeah, everyone.
So I invite Terry to share our reading this morning from the Science of Mind magazine. Welcome, Terry.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So, Reverend Maur's talk title today is Love on a Spectrum. And we have one reading today from the Science of Mind magazine, page 54. And this is by Reverend Dr. David Alt, called Respect the Purity of the Gift. And two quotes, first from Jean Martinet. When you thank someone over and over and over, the thankee can begin to think something is required of them in return. And from Ernest Holmes, his book, It's Up to You, on page 24, we should confidently expect a greater good than we have ever experienced. And then the text, my traveling friend announced he felt ill and didn't think he could continue any further on the Camino de Santiago pilgrimage that day. We were still several walking hours away from our destination. The mid-afternoon heat was at maximum intensity, and I could not see a nearby place to seek assistance. As a last resort, I began signaling for help from passing cars. Hugo pulled over and in perfect English said he could always spot a pilgrim in distress. Regularly walking the trail himself, he adopted a devotional practice of offering aid to pilgrims in gratitude for all the times he'd been assisted. Hugo drove us into Porto while giving us an impromptu mini tour of the city, offering tips for our scheduled extra day there. He ended by driving us curbside to our accommodation. It felt like a miracle. I zealously thanked him. I thanked him when he first stopped. I thanked him during the spontaneous tour. And here I was curbside thanking him again as we gathered our backpacks. At that moment, he quietly asked me to stop. Too many thank yous diminish the purity of the gift, he said. I still process this profound statement. It sparked a study on the topic of overthanking. I uncovered numerous psychological studies linking it to manipulation, indebtedness, imbalance, and need. and yes, other cultures view it as insulting. Hugo explained that his offering was a natural act. To be overthanked spoiled that for him. Behaviorally, I could see it was resurrected unworthiness voicing itself. I didn't need to go on and on. My friend and I were each worthy of being cared for with precision and grace. Hugo was an angel sent to remind us of that. And our affirmation of the day, I am deserving and meticulously cared for.
I am deserving. An interesting phrase. Sometimes, hang tight, right? I sometimes wonder how we ever thought we weren't. You know? I was a little kid, and I remember one of the first things I learned in Sunday school was God is love. And right after that came, and you are loved. And I laugh at myself when I forget that, because it was so real. As an 8-year-old, I had many different kinds of friends, all different kinds. I had a friend that had brittle bones. I had a friend that was African American. I had a friend that was Chinese. I had just all different kinds of friends. And I remember saying out loud, why can't we just love whoever we love? Because I'd already heard that there were bars and things that kept us from that. And I was like, I don't get it. I'm 8 years old. And I'm looking at that thinking, there's something wrong with that picture. And so when I heard this song, it just brought all that up for me. The concept that love is love, and we should love when we are called to love and when we know to love, which is always. This is called Love in Any Language. Love in any language. Brent, love in any language. Je t'aime, te amo, ya ti bialilu. Ani evet othka, I love you. The sounds are all as different as the lands from which they came. And though the words are all unique, our hearts are still the same. Love in any language, straight from the heart, pulls us all together, never apart. And once we learn to speak it, well then all the world will hear. Love in any language, fluently spoken here. We teach the young our differences, yet look how we're the same. We love to laugh, to dream our dreams. We know the sting of pain. From Leningrad to Lexington, the farmer loves his land, and daddies still get misty-eyed to give their daughters hand. Love in any language, straight from the heart, pulls us all together, never apart. And once we learn to speak it, well then all the world will hear. Love in any language is fluently spoken here. Oh, maybe when we realize how much there is to share, we'll find too much in common to pretend it isn't there. Oh, love in any language, straight from the heart, well then all the world will hear. Love in any language, say it, fluently spoken here. Love in any language, fluently spoken here. Yes, it is.
Oh, thank you, Darcy. That is an amazing song.
Thank
Yeah, amazing song. And today we have a special treat. Reverend Moore is with us. He's back with us. And as he told you, he has been on a medical sabbatical. And we are so happy to have you back in the pulpit.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Oh, good morning, my friends. This is my first time to speak since the stroke in mid-May. I'm really happy to be able to be with you today. It just means a lot to me. Hasn't it been a great morning? It takes a village, you know, our musicians, our practitioners, Reverend Don and Reverend Julie, everybody who's helped get things ready for this beautiful hospitality, everything. Everybody deserves a bit of recognition. Let's give them a hand.
Yep.
I intend this morning to speak about the sweetness of love, its root in the divine, and the many ways we can express it. The CSL topic for today is love on a spectrum. Now, spectrum here is used to mean a range. For example, a spectrum of colors from red and violet, that's on the electromagnetic scale. They have a range to that. Or sometimes we say there's a broad spectrum of opinion that exists among believers on the topic of most anything, immortality, for example. Okay? Now, love is extremely important to us as human beings. And it is one of my favorite words. It means so much to so many. Truly, there is a broad spectrum of meanings. It has deep metaphysical meaning, and it takes forms in our lives in various ways. From the divine to the human, the spectrum of love is before us and in us. As we luxuriate a little bit this morning in the idea and the meaning of love, let's start out swimming in the deep end of the pool. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, wrote in The Science of Mind, "The essence of love, while elusive, pervades everything, fires the heart, stimulates the emotions, renews the soul, and proclaims the spirit." Now, that's quite a bit. It's that love is a fire in ourselves. Only love knows love, and love knows only love. Words cannot express its depths or meaning. A universal sense alone bears witness to the divine fact. God is love, and love is God. Ooh. That's a powerful thought. God is love and love is God. This has implications. Since God created all from nothing but itself, love lies at the essence of every created being. That means you and me. We are love. Holmes also declares, and I think this is really beautiful, all life is bound together by one common law of love, and love is the self-givingness of spirit. I tried to set up an imaginary thing in my mind to kind of illustrate that. Love, spirit is immaterial. You can't see it, can't feel it, but it's real. Somehow, this immaterial, powerful being, this powerful energy, this powerful love exploded into expression, and we have the physical universe. We have the evolution of life itself. Love is truly a deep and powerful emotion and a deep and powerful reality because it is actually the essence of the divine expressing itself as us. Now, love and law are twin pillars upon which our teaching stands. Today we're focusing mostly on love. When I first saw the topic of the day, the love on a spectrum, I thought of a song, right? It really popped in my mind. It's from my teenage years, a little while ago. Perhaps some of you are familiar with it. It is, love is a many-splendored thing. It is.
Yes, love is a many-splendid thing. It's the April rose that only grows in the early spring. Love is nature's way of giving a reason to be living, a golden crown that makes one feel like a king. Once on a high and windy hill, in the morning mist, two lovers kissed and the world stood still. Then your fingers touched my silent heart and taught me how to sing. Yes, true love's a many splendid thing.
Oh, the sweetness of this experience. I recall being totally swept up in that happy state, at times euphoric in love. I bet you recall such times too. Yeah. Now, not to spoil the feeling, our scientists tell us that there's a broad array of neurotransmitters that spark those powerful feelings. The four most common love chemicals are dopamine. It does a lot of things, but one of the things is a feel-good hormone that is produced in the brain. Serotonin helps produce the feeling of being happy. Oxytocin, or tocin, is known as a cuddle chemical. We see it in, a lot of it is in mothers and their babies, holding babies, and lovers holding each other. And then cortisol, although that's known as a stress hormone, it plays a part in love too, because it goes to the whole body and gets the body awake and alive, and that's part of being in love. Now, just because our brain uses love chemicals to experience love doesn't mean that love isn't real. It's one of the truest and purest of human emotions. It's one of the greatest concepts in the world. You see, being in love feels out of this world. It's one of the most beautiful and soothing feelings in the world. Your body and your brain produce certain love chemicals that make you feel good and make your love story tremendous and of great importance to you and your lover. The beginning of love. The beginning of love is so powerful and so strong. But as time goes on, through the spectrum of time and love tends to transition a bit. You still have feelings and can be totally engaged in each other, but it becomes more of a deep, lasting affection, a devotion to the welfare of the other. You have seen it. You have seen it in your life in many different ways. Perhaps the most noticeable or outstanding devotion occurs when lovers become caretakers one for the other. You've seen that, haven't you? I have. I personally know of 3 instances where husbands have taken on the care of their wives to some extent, a real extent, and examples of wives becoming caretakers of husbands abound. I was at a friend's celebration of life yesterday at Minto Brown Island Park, and there were a number of older couples who were supporting each other as they walked in and out of the celebration. I find it is beautiful to see an older couple's tenderness as they walk together through life. Young love to old love is one spectrum of a loving life. Love has a legal spectrum too, a legal aspect. We have seen it develop in our lifetimes. There's been a change. Now, marriage is the key legally recognized law. It's very fundamental in every society. People here in the U.S. have not always been free to marry the one they love. Interracial marriage was banned in Virginia and other states until the Supreme Court, in aptly named Loving versus Virginia, held that anti-miscegenation laws were unconstitutional under the 14th Amendment, adopted in late last century, or 1800s, but proclaimed in 1967. I remember that. Maybe you do. Yeah, it makes a big difference. Same-sex marriage was made legal nationwide when the Supreme Court in 2015 only, in Obergefell versus Hodges, struck down bans on the same-sex marriage. And on December 8th, 2022, Congress passed the Marriage Rights Act, ensuring that people who are married interracially or to the same sex, their marriages are recognized throughout the country. There are other practices besides monogamy in different parts of the world. In the Middle East and Africa and Muslim nations, they have a practice of one man might have several wives, or other practices like that, but they're not. The key for us in the West is that monogamous relationship. No matter whether laws here expand or contract the lawful forms of marriage, all people are and will be welcome in our Center for Spiritual Living. For love is love is love, and we celebrate love because it's divine, and that's why we do it. Yeah. In looking for a way we might make the divine within our lives show up better, I ran across a classic in the literature of love and marriages. Perhaps you've seen it. It's called The 5 Languages of Love. Has anybody seen or heard of that? Some, a few? Yeah, okay. The author, Gary Chapman, expanded these concepts from just relating to marriage to love languages for children, teenagers, singles, and even in the workplace. So they have kind of universal application. Gary Chapman's thesis is that each person has a primary love language, and some may have a secondary one. If you discover your own love language and someone else's primary love language, you can strengthen intimate, familial, and social relationships. You can communicate your love more effectively by knowing how to address it. Now, in addition to the actual day-to-day spiritual expressions of love and language, I see there's a spiritual correspondent or a spiritual cognate for each language too. Let's take a brief look at the 5 languages of love and see if we might find a way that we can increase our skill at expressing love. The first is words of affirmation. That's the language. You affirm. We've all heard about affirmations before. Chapman recommends affirmations of love be sincere, brief, positive statements about the one you love. Some examples he gives are, you look sharp in that suit. Maybe. Do you ever look incredible in that dress? I appreciate that you're always on time to pick me up for work. These type of affirmations recognize the language of the person that loves to be affirmed. Notice the positive in people and speak about it. When based in empathy, kind words can mean so much. For don't we know that all love is kind? We've been taught that. Spiritual correspondent. We know the power of affirmations in our spiritual work, don't we? I imagine everyone has taken at least some introduction to the power of affirmations to penetrate the subconscious of our mind and show up in our lives. Affirmations such as, I am capable, I am kind, God is, I am, life is wonderful. These types of affirmations can be a major part of your spiritual practice. Notice, the second love language is quality time. Quality time means giving someone your undivided attention. Gary says in his book, I love this illustration because it has application in my life. I don't mean sitting on the couch watching television. When you're doing that, Netflix or HBO or whatever it is not your center of attention. Is your center of attention not your spouse? What I mean is sitting on the couch with the TV off, looking at each other and talking. Yeah. Put the devices away and give each other your undivided attention. It might mean taking a walk, just the two of you, or going out to eat and looking at each other and talking. Focusing your attention on the other while conversing creates quality time. It may require learning to listen deeply. It may involve getting in touch with our emotions and then being able to share them. And of course, there are shared activities, and going out to dinner and taking a trip to the beach together, or perhaps you simply sit in the backyard and watch the sunset or the front yard together and appreciate the beauty that's in and around you. Well, the spiritual element here is pretty obvious. Quality time pretty much describes spiritual practices. Meditation, paying attention to and listening to Spirit. Prayer, talking to Spirit. Sunday celebrations, celebrating Spirit. There is an aspect of quality time in every spiritual practice. No, it's not vodka. It's just water. So that's the first two. Receiving gifts is the third love language. Let me share a brief story from the book. I think it's interesting. Eric spent a year in Kelsey's friend zone before she agreed to go out with him. Since they both were big on baseball, Eric took her to a minor league game in Indianapolis. They were sitting in a grassy area beyond the left field fence when suddenly there was a hard hit drive and the ball came there. Eric jumped up and caught it barehanded. His first home run catch ever. 2 days later, Kelsey found a gift-wrapped package outside her dorm room. She opened it and found a baseball in a small plastic display case like the kind collectors use. Taped to the inside of the case was a ticket stub from the game. Inscribed on the ball was the date of the game and these words: first home run catch. Second best thing that happened to me today. They were married 2 years later after that first date. 15 years later, that baseball sits in its display case on Kelsey's dresser where she can see it every day. She has said, "It is the first thing I would grab if the house was on fire." Gifts can mean a lot to different people. And we do use them in spiritual practice. Certificates and plaques and cards abound in our work. Some of them are incredibly uplifting. We get gifts here at the chapel, for example, and we might have a display, an item that sits out in our chapel. Maybe you don't notice it very much, but it's a symbol of a love from one person to another. Or this picture, for example, was a gift to our chapel. And it kind of reminds us of spirituality and of the Christian truth of love. And one of my favorites, little ones. This was a gift from someone who completed a class. It was a class project at the end of the class. Pretty nice. And we use it still to remind us of our Father. And then there's one that many of you have seen before, but I think is especially interesting because it reminds me of a certain practitioner and a certain class. It's pure. It's fun. It's fun. You see, we do use physical things and gifts in our practice. Love language number 4, acts of service. For some, acts of service are a love language all its own. Helping keep the house in good order, mowing the lawn, vacuuming for your spouse. These can be meaningful activities when your spouse's primary love language is service, as it is sometimes for each of us. Going to one another's doctor's appointments can show love. It's just a way of being there and giving something of extreme value. An act of service freely given is an act of love that benefits both the giver and the receiver. Spiritual correspondent. Well, service is one of our primary spiritual activities. Serving others freely and with love helps build a sense of community. Our practitioners, our ministers, our board members, our volunteers, those who prepare hospitality, those who greet, those who take care of our technical needs during the Sunday service, our musicians, all serve. Service is a magnificent spiritual application of this act, love language number 4. Now, love language number 5 is a little tricky. It's physical touch. Okay? We have long known that physical love and touch is a way of communicating emotional love. Numerous research projects in the area of child development have made this conclusion. And I see it too, what I'm going to tell you. I see this with my grandchildren who are caring for their, well, what are my great-grandchildren. I see these behaviors. Babies who are held, stroked, and kissed develop a healthier emotional life than those that are left for long periods of time without physical contact. It just builds self-acceptance. Now, physical touch is also a powerful vehicle for communicating marital love. Holding hands or kissing and embracing and sexual intercourse are ways of communicating emotional love to one's spouse. You see, Gary puts it this way. For some individuals, physical touch is their primary love language. Without it, they feel unloved. With it, their love tank is filled, and they feel secure in the love of their spouse. It's a powerful thing, this business of touching. Spiritual correspondent. Now, we don't emphasize physical touch very much in our spiritual tradition. In today's environment, one must be sure that touching is welcome. You could always ask or offer a hand tentatively, and if the person responds, shake it. We do, of course. You see it all the time. We shake hands, we hug, we pat one another on the back when the situation is right. Sometimes also fist bumps or elbow bumps are used. You may have heard me say to someone, would you like a hug? Or would you like to share a hug? As in many spiritual traditions, when ordaining ministers, we use the laying on of hands, the draping of robes, and the placement of a stole. I am reminded of Louis Armstrong's signature song, A Wonderful World, in which he says, I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? What they really are saying is, I love you. As we move toward a conclusion of our time together this morning, I want to share a final thought and encourage you to see if I can encourage you to see your spiritual journey as a love journey, an adventure in love. The final thought is this. My way of expressing love for you is by preaching from the heart, by teaching the truth I know, and encouraging the development of other strong leaders in our community, all cooperating in an environment of mutual trust and kindness. All that is based on the love that resides within me, the love that resides in you, the love that informs our community. I must say, I recognize the love in you that resides in your heart, because you and I form a community of love and faith. Faith in Spirit God and faith in one another and love for all. Let's encourage one another in our adventures in love by acknowledging the deep truth about ourselves. I invite you to repeat after me. You ready? I am loved.
I am loved.
I am loving.
I am loving.
I am strong.
I am strong.
I am confident.
I am confident.
I speak affirmative words. spend quality time with myself, with God, and others.
I spend quality time with myself.
God and others. I accept gifts graciously.
I accept gifts graciously.
I live graciously.
I live graciously.
I give graciously.
I give graciously.
I serve gladly.
I serve gladly.
I am served in gladness.
I am served in gladness.
I offer physical touch with respect, gentleness, and love. I offer physical touch with respect, gentleness, and love. Truly, we know love is a many-splendored thing. It is a wonderful world. I love you. That is our lesson for today. Namaste.
I see trees of green, red roses too. Hang tight, Brent. I want to take that down a little bit so everybody can sing with me. I see trees, there we are, of green, sing with me. Red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white. I see skies of blue, and clouds of white. The bright blessed day, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying what? I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Take it, Brent. Play it for us. The bridge, here we go. The colors. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, what? Are also, look around, on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, everybody, what a wonderful world. Take that into your heart.
Oh, thank you, Reverend Moore. That message was truly a gift of love. Really wonderful. Thank you. And thank you, Darcy. Can the ushers come forward? Yeah, I feel like I have been really gifted this morning. So inviting you to share your gifts. And we have an affirmation, and that is correct and in its correct place. Divine love
As me blesses and multiplies all that I am,
all that I have,
and all that I circulate.
Thank you, God.
Love, 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 love. The gospel in one word is love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love, love, love. Try it. Love, 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 love. The gospel in one word is love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love, love, love. Love, 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 love. The gospel in one word is love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love, love, love.
Each of us here is a precious expression of the oneness, the power, and the love that is Spirit itself. Each of us here is drawn from the universe, that which gives us substance, that which provides for our lives, that which is bestowed upon us so freely. And we in turn have opened our hearts. We have opened our hearts to share this love, to share this power, to share this joy with the chapel called Woodland Chapel, Center for Spiritual Living. We give thanks for it all because it's all one, the gift of Spirit. God is good. You are good. And so it is.
And so it is. Just wait. People get there.
We have a prayer of protection.
We do.
Prayer.
And let's stand together and say this before we move into our peace song. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Let's sing our peace song. The words are in the program.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that Lower the